First name?
No.
Jack.
I've been an attending surgeon on the staff of this hospital for 11 years.
Then you should know all about filling in forms.
William Hurt plays a surgeon who doesn't much enjoy being treated like a patient in The Doctor. It's one of the new movies we're going to be reviewing this week, and we will also have a commentary on the controversy and the accomplishment of Boys in the Hood. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune, and our first film is The Doctor, which reunites the talents of director Randa Haynes and actor William Hurt, who last collaborated on the beautiful love story Children of a Lesser God. And this time the results are almost as good, thanks mostly to Hurt, who is superb as a self-centered heart surgeon who himself becomes a patient, and while being treated, learns to open his own heart. At first, of course, he's used to working, not staying in his own hospital, and he has a problem with his throat, a serious one, and with a hospital orderly.
I know you. I'm Dr. McKee. I don't need a chair. I'm perfectly capable of walking.
Please sit in the chair, doctor. If you fall over in the hospital is liable.
And then there's no private room available. He's forced to mingle with the regular patients.
Your first time under the knife? I bet you feel like you don't know what's going on, am I right? Well, don't worry, they don't know either.
And he loses his temper when his doctor fails to show up for an appointment.
I was told this was to be a daily treatment.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't make the rules.
Why don't we, from now on, in this hospital, we should drop "I'm sorry" from conversation, okay? Let's just assume it begins every sentence.
His eyes open to what normal patients have to go through. Hurt fires the doctor he originally picked to heal his cancerous throat. She's all business, like he was.
Look, doctor, I know how you must be feeling.
That's the problem. You don't have the first idea what I'm feeling.
Those scenes might make the doctor seem like nothing more than a picture that just rails against today's impersonal medical system, but it's more sophisticated than that. I enjoyed it most of all for William Hurt's portrayal of a skilled worker, a doctor. You believe that you're watching a real doctor up there, and also for the way he portrays the emotion of carrying around a possibly crippling, if not fatal, illness. William Hurt is as good as any actor working today. I think his choices are fresh, and the way he relates to both the men and the women in his life is always compelling. I saw a real person on the screen, despite some of the gimmicky plot elements in the picture. I think this performance is really worth an Oscar nomination, but then William Hurt's work usually is.
I was enormously moved by this movie and involved in the movie. It involved me in terms of all the details, all the knowledge it had about a hospital and about surgery, about heart disease, about cancer, about the way people relate to possibly fatal illnesses. I liked all of that, and then, of course, I loved William Hurt's performance. It was completely convincing. You know, this is the same plot structure, if you will, as regarding Henry.
Of course.
A very busy man who doesn't stop for anybody or anything, has a catastrophe happen to his life, and through that he learns to be a human being. But the difference is between night and day, because regarding Henry is just formula, and this movie is human, it's detailed, it's convincing.
There's one beautiful moment where William Hurt makes a great choice. There's a joyful moment somewhere in the picture.
Yeah.
It's almost balletic. I think if you know what I'm talking about. He goes with, you know, they talk about how great Brando is. Brando wouldn't have done that move any better.
Over the top. You ought to mention the two actresses in the movie, Christine Lottie and Elizabeth Perkins, his wife and the dying cancer patient who he meets when he goes through treatment. His relationships to these two women help to illuminate everything else in the film.
Very good picture.
It's a very, very good picture. Okay, next movie. Our next movie is Dutch, which tells the story of a private war between a very angry young boy and a man who wants to be his friend. The movie stars Ed O'Neill, star of Married with Children on TV, as a guy named Dutch who's in love with the ex-wife of a millionaire. Her son is a spoiled rich kid filled with hostility, but Dutch figures he might be able to turn the kid around if he goes to pick him up at his private school and drive him home for Thanksgiving.
There's no better way for two guys to get to know each other than to spend a couple of days in a car.
That's Jo Beth Williams as the mother there. The kid, played by Ethan Randall, assaults Dutch with a golf club, but Dutch gets him to come along with him one way or another.
What do you like to do for fun? Well, you like to wiggle and grunt. Me too.
The movie turns into a formula picture where the two characters are somehow going to get to know one another while sharing adventures on the road. Among several phony scenes, this one is perhaps the phoniest.
Is that your most pathetic look?
This is my death to you look.
That's not gonna get us a ride. Be pathetic!
And, of course, they end up broken stranded along the way. In a movie like this, there's an unwritten law that you never call home for money. No, you have to rough it out. It's a real strange country out there when you get a movie like this written and produced by John Hughes. This bears a passing resemblance to Hughes's wonderful movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which was also about an odd couple on the road home for Thanksgiving and all of their adventures and all of the reasons why they couldn't just pick up a phone and end the movie right then and there by getting some easily obtainable help. The movie has a lot of problems, but the basic one is it's not much fun to spend any time with this obnoxious kid who is presented as if the young William Buckley had been possessed by demons. That's not a criticism of young Ethan Randall, who plays the character all too well, but of Hughes' decision to make him so obnoxious for way too long before the inevitable smiles at the end of the picture. This was real tough going.
Oh, yeah, teeth are on edge during this picture. Now, you took care of the kid. Let me talk about Dutch.
Old Dutch, yeah.
I wouldn't want to spend any time with Dutch. You know, a guy who comes on and says, you know, I'm working class, I'm a regular guy. I mean, as soon as he says that, I want to, okay.
What's wrong with the working class? I work for a living. You know, there are times during the movie when you're rooting for the kid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The kid at least has a fresh attitude. I mean, Dutch is just so sanctimonious about himself.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, the economic scheme of this whole picture is the richer you are, the more of a jerk you are. The poorer you are, you're practically sainthood.
The formula of a road picture like this is you have the obstreperous person and then the other one who is going to use reason and also force to make the first person human.
Yeah.
Now, you've got a problem with a movie like this. You don't know which of the two characters from scene to scene is which.
You don't like either one.
Coming up later in the show, a commentary on the violence surrounding the release of Boys in the Hood. And next, Bill and Ted are back on a bogus journey.
It's the Grim Reaper, dude. Oh. How's it hanging, Death? No way. What? No way, sir?
Those time-traveling party dudes are back in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, the sequel to the surprise 1989 smash hit Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, with Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves out to save the world from their evil twins this time, which are really robots assigned from the future to destroy Bill and Ted.
Ted, if you're really me, how many fingers am I about to hold up? 3. Whoa! You're right!
The gimmick in these movies is the way the boys talk, like groovy surfer talk, dude, as they play a practical joke on another offbeat character here, Death.
Excuse us, dude, but your shoes are untied.
To defeat the bad guys, the ghostly Bill and Ted, who have been rendered invisible, try to get some help as Ted possesses the mind and body of his uptight police officer father.
Whoa. Okay, dudes. I mean, fellow policemen. My son, Ted Theodore Logan, and his friend, Bill S. Preston Esquire, have been murdered and replaced by evil robots from the future. You totally did it, dude. I totally possessed my dad.
Well, I wasn't a fan of the original picture, and although this one is more joyful, I can only give it a mixed review. This movie is purposefully stupid, to be sure. I understand that, but Bill and Ted's humor gets familiar for me all too quickly. Only the special effects, I think, keep the film afloat.
Well, I like the special effects. I especially like the way heaven looked and hell, and I must admit somewhat to my surprise, I enjoyed this movie. Now, it does work on its chosen level, which is submoronic idiocy. Works on that level very well, but I think there were other levels a little more sophisticated in the film. The whole character of Death and the way he's portrayed in this movie, the Grim Reaper looking at various choices in the scythe department of the hardware store, for example, or his embarrassment when he loses his contest and has to go along with these guys as their assistant, is very funny. That whole character and everything he does is funny. And I enjoyed the movie. I thought that visually it was very inventive, that the actors had a lot of fun with the characters. I liked it.
It is more inventive than the first one, for sure. The first one was just trashing these, you know, sort of intellectual picture, trashing all these famous people. This film has some joy in the special effects, but boy, I just thought the jokes were all of a piece, and I didn't enjoy them that much.
Okay, when we come back, a memory drenched in happiness of a childhood in France. Two films back-to-back called My Father's Glory and My Mother's Castle. A boy from the city and his new friend from the countryside thrill to the wonders of nature in My Father's Glory, one of a pair of new French films that are opening one after another around the country and made a very deep impression on me. The other film is named My Mother's Castle, and together they tell a story based on the memoirs of Marcel Pagnol, the great French author whose family's vacations in Provence during his childhood provided his sharpest memories.
Mais les vacances, c'était fini. Je savais déjà que je ne supporterais pas d'attendre une année, toute une année, pour retrouver mes chères collines.
The narrator there was the adult Marcel, remembering the years when his father was a schoolmaster and the family spent their summers and vacations in the hills that he came to love. One of the great sustained sequences in the second film, My Mother's Castle, is the family's attempt to reach their little holiday home by walking along the private canal footpaths that cross the estates of the rich. This practice is forbidden, but it turns out that the canal guard is a former pupil of the father.
Et maintenant, la surprise. Le carrefour de quatre saisons.
These two movies are based on autobiographies by the same man who wrote Jean de Florette and Manon of the Spring, two of the best French films of recent years, and the films are directed by Yves Robert. These films are wonderful too, like Manon and Jean de Florette, but in a different way. They're more of a memory and less of a story, and they deal with a child's idealized memories of growing up in a warm, happy family. There were times during the first film, My Father's Glory, when I wondered where all of this was going to lead, whether the film was simply wandering beautifully but aimlessly. But the payoff comes in My Mother's Castle, the second film, where everything from both films is drawn together at the end into an enormously effective and very emotional conclusion. Now, I'm a pro when I go to the movies, and I don't cry very easily, but at the end of the second one, there were a few tears.
Well, it is deeply moving. It has the density of life. It will spend the amount of screen time in the second picture to talk about that going through the shortcut to get to your house and how that is full of meaning for a little boy, and it would be. And having your father's ethics challenged, then being in jeopardy, being humiliated. It's a really maturing episode there, and I would say that there is 45 minutes spent on that, 30, 45 minutes, something like that, and it's worth it.
The love that he has for his mother and how afraid she is of that dog and of the guard who comes along.
This is the real stuff.
The thing about, you know, people have a resistance to any movie longer than 2 hours. Well, maybe they were wise here to make two movies and open one, and then that'll play for a while, and the other one will open, so you don't have to sit there for 4 hours, because then maybe people, when you see the extra screen time, you can see it used here to really give you a feeling for this whole family, including the aunt and the uncle and the friends in town and the friends in the countryside.
And the landscape, too. I mean, the back half of number one is really a tribute to the hills and to the flora and fauna. I mean, and so there is time there, and it is beautiful to see.
Well, when I saw this movie, I wanted to get on the next flight to Provence and find myself a little cabin, which is not film criticism, but travel writing, but nevertheless. Coming up next, our thoughts on the violence surrounding the early screenings of the movie Boys in the Hood.
Something wrong? Something wrong, yeah.
As was widely reported this past week, violence broke out in and around more than 20 theaters nationwide that were showing the critically acclaimed movie Boys in the Hood. Now, I don't want to be an apologist for gun-toting gang members who go to the movies looking for trouble, but I do think that Columbia Pictures, which released the film, could have acted more responsibly in the way they promoted this movie, particularly in its coming attractions trailer, a 2-minute mini-film that played in hundreds of theaters nationwide for the last couple of weeks. Take a look at the last 16 seconds of the trailer, and you'll see that it's really selling a gangland story in the most rousing manner possible.
Hey, yo, Q, watch out, mother...
Now look at that bottom line just below the title at the end of the trailer. Increase the peace. That's the real mission of the film, as written and directed by John Singleton. But you'd hardly know it from the trailer. Indeed, here are some scenes from Boys in the Hood that didn't make it into the trailer. They're effective, but too gentle, I guess, as a mother welcomes a college recruiter into her home to talk to her football star son.
How you doing? You were at the game against Washington, right?
Yes, I remember. That was a good game. You picked up 276 yards in that game, huh? Yeah. That's pretty impressive.
And here's a well-written scene that you might not guess is in the picture based on the trailer.
You say you want to wait till you get married first, right? No, look at me, right? Yeah. And I say that I'm going to be the one who marries you. So, technically, it don't make no difference whether we do it now or later. We're still going to get married, right?
You'd never guess that Boys in the Hood was about those people. Indeed, it's really the story of a bunch of kids trying, with the help of their parents, to beat the gang violence that infects their neighborhood in South Central Los Angeles. But Columbia Pictures went after the action crowd, and a distorted message was sent out about Boys in the Hood. The resulting violence shouldn't come as that much of a surprise.
I agree with you about the trailer and about the television ads on the movie, but I had an interesting conversation yesterday with Frank Price, the president of Columbia Pictures, who said that he had screened both the trailer and the TV commercials very carefully, and he defended them. He claimed that it didn't present it as a gang picture, that it presented a lot of the different things that were in the movie, and that it tried to indicate that it did have entertainment values, it did have action, but that it wasn't a gang picture. I really don't agree with him. I think we looked at the trailers a little bit differently. But what he did say was that starting this week, they're going to go toward quote ads, which is frequently the case in the second week of a movie that gets such good reviews. And this one had fabulous reviews from practically every critic in the country. And I think that's good because that will help to get the message out that this is a very special picture for all audiences, for people of various groups, from various racial groups, from various age groups, and that's who it's aimed at. It's not just the kind of picture that a lot of people thought it was, as you point out, on the basis of those ads.
I looked at my comments were based on the trailer, because I looked at there are at least 10 TV ads, and one of them is a quote ad, in fact, featuring you, because you wrote a review based on, from Cannes, a very positive. Yeah. So the TV ads weren't as inflammatory, as I would say, as the trailer. The trailer, and I've looked at this stuff, the trailer is selling. It's an action sell. In the lingo of the ad campaigns, it's an action sell, a hard action sell.
So to the degree that we...
When I saw the trailer, let me prove it to you. Okay. When I saw the trailer before I saw the movie, and I knew that you'd like this picture, I was thinking, what's this?
A week before the movie opened, I criticized the trailer in a newspaper article and said it makes it look like a gang movie. So the message is, it's not a gang movie. It's a very, very good movie, and it's a movie for everybody.
Okay. When we come back, a video pick of the week, the latest film by Woody Allen.
Now it's time for our weekly video segment, recommendations of movies on home video that you might enjoy renting or owning. And my pick this week is Alice, the most recent film by Woody Allen, an enchanting comedy that stars Mia Farrow as a rich but unhappy Manhattan woman who finds a mysterious old man in Chinatown who can promise her happiness. That's the veteran character actor Key Luke is the acupuncturist there. This was his last performance before his death, and it's a good one as he wisely tries to draw Farrow away from the cares of the world and into another reality where she can cast spells, become invisible, and fly through the skies. Woody Allen's Alice is available both on tape and Laserdisc, and it's a good movie. It's smart, mystifying, and funny. And now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs up for The Doctor, and especially for William Hurt's wonderfully textured performance as a surgeon who gets a taste of his own medicine. 2 thumbs down, though, for Dutch, a movie in which an obnoxious kid is tamed by an adult who is just about as obnoxious. A split decision on Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Gene thought the jokes got tired, but I liked the visual invention and offbeat humor. And finally, 2 thumbs up enthusiastically for the 2 Fringe films, My Father's Glory and My Mother's Castle. They were a heartwarming and emotional story of growing up in France.
Maybe I can give one suggestion on Boys in the Hood. People are asking me, well, I want to see the picture. When should I go? I'm saying stay away from the last show on the weekend nights. Gang member, go to a dinner show. The gang members tend to sleep in for those.
Actually, as this movie seems to be developing, and also with New Jack City, all the trouble is on opening night. There hasn't been any trouble since then, and people are safely going to theaters all over the country. That's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with Kathleen Turner playing a private eye named V.I. Warshawski, and Mel Brooks trying to live the life of a homeless person in Life Stinks. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Did you know that Wesson Light cooking spray has less than 1 calorie per serving? Wesson Light, less than 1 calorie. Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. Now with 30 flavors, you can serve it every day for a month and never serve the same dish twice. Kraft Touch of Butter spread. It's made with rich, creamy butter, so when Kraft Touch of Butter says buttery taste, believe it. A touch of real butter makes a real difference. Louisiane is specially blended for iced tea. That's why people who like iced tea love Louisiane. Available in regular or decaf.